Well, I want to welcome everyone today to the Smart Safe Cities My Bodyguard program with Dr. Leigh Wall. And so excited to have you today. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
And I am really curious, Leigh, why did you ever become an educator?
Wow, so long ago too. So, initially I wanted to do a service type career. I wanted to do that. And then when I was young, I began teaching at an early age. And I really started to kind of get a feel for, oh, I think that's what I want to do as a career. And then the importance of learning and lifelong learning, that definitely resonated. And just bottom line, to make a difference, to make a big difference in the world, and give children the opportunity to reach their fullest potential and make a better world for their future and ultimately everybody's future. So really big picture, make a difference.
Well, clearly you started as a teacher, but then you ultimately became a superintendent. What is the job of a superintendent?
Cool. Such a good question. So, in general, a CEO, superintendent's school district, operates a school district as in many cases a business with a lot of different nuances there. But so overseeing education, the education of children, obviously, curriculum, instruction, finance, transportation, food service, technology. Wow. All of the areas that make up schools, and of course facilities, maintenance, operations, building new facilities, bonds. But in addition to running a district day to day, it's also an important piece of being a leader. Leading the educators, coaching the educators, and advocating for the educators. So being and students, of course, being an advocate and working closely with community leaders, state leaders, even national leaders, so that you're supporting education, students, and of course teachers along the way, and staff. Yeah,
that's great. What a wonderful opportunity for you and a great time. And speaking of the time that you were a superintendent, there was quite the event that occurred, and that event was a mass shooting.
Yes.
And what was important for you after that day for your community? What was the most important thing for you to do for supporting, as you brought up, not just the students, but the teachers and the parents and the community? What was important for you personally that you made sure happened after that event?
So obviously all of the things that had to happen, the planning, the organization were things that had to happen. But what was most important and what took precedence from the first minute was taking care of the people, taking care of obviously the students who were impacted, the staff in the school who were impacted, the community who were also impacted. So understanding and learning how the trauma and how such a horrible tragedy would truly impact people. And so the most important piece was what can we do best to support people at this time? And then as we went forward for many years afterwards. And so saying that, it was really focusing on people, but mental health support, understanding the impact of such a horrible tragedy and senseless tragedy, and the trauma and grief that goes with that, and how it truly impacts everyone in a community, and even in surrounding communities and potentially across the world or globe. So truly working on what can we do to support people, to provide the resources for them, the help for them, keeping that first and foremost as we plan to move forward with school.
And what did you learn that you have brought forward and that you won't ever lose because of that learning?
Oh, lots of learning, and I think one of the biggest pieces that stands out in regards to people is the strength and resilience, and that's something that that you obviously you don't prepare for the aftermath of such a tragedy. We did not do a good job of preparing for that mentally. I'm not sure you can prepare adequately for that emotion and some of those emotions, but what you can prepare for is the support for helping people through that. And what we found was people are strong, kids are strong, communities come together, people come together from all over the place, not just your own community, but surrounding communities and across the country as well. So the true strength that people have to support each other and help each other when they know it's a difficult time is truly amazing. I mean, and it's support from the emotional support to financial support to just being there to help people, to helping organize. It's a big, unbelievable giving of self and people to help bring together people to help get through such a tragedy. So resilience and strength.
That's beautiful. I think about the fact that it takes us sometimes some of the most difficult circumstances of our lives, or some of the most tragic circumstances of our lives, to teach us how strong we are.
Right.
And yet we wouldn't know. We wouldn't know, right?
Well, yes, and you realize out of such horrible becomes much good too, and you appreciate the goodness in people, even in the badness.
So one of the phrases that you use often with me is that schools are a mirror of society. First of all, tell me what you mean by that. Tell the other viewers what you mean by that. And then tell me, what has that mirror shown you?
So schools don't operate in isolation, although we kind of think and operate as they do in some respects. And you have education system in itself, and it operates as such to educate kids. But we also know the reality is that schools are part of a community. They truly are integrated in a community. They don't exist outside of a community. Mm-hmm. And even remotely rural communities, they're still communities. And within that community, you serve the population and you educate children, but you also know that you're there to serve the needs and adjust to the needs. So good and bad, that there's good and bad in the communities and good and bad in the world and society. And it doesn't stop at the school door. If students come from bad environments or difficult environments or abusive environments or any type of environment that they need support, we don't turn them away. We acknowledge and meet the needs of the students where they are, but also realize that we can't guard that. That's not within the control. So we have to understand and appreciate the fact that schools truly are not separate and apart from the rest of the society. They are a part of it, and we have to operate as such.
Yeah, we do have to operate as such, and knowing inside of the school is a reflection of what has going on at home, right? Right. It's an interesting knowing, right? You're like, well, clearly that's also going on at home, right? So knowing that there's a line of like, this is where you end and they begin, and there's only so much you can do, right? What steps did you take though after this awful event? What steps did you take that for a fact this is what you could do to make a difference moving forward to make kids safer? Like, I can't touch the home life. Well, maybe you can, but this is what that you did to make kids safer moving forward.
So that's a broad question and many different answers. So I'll start with looking at, number one, the mental health support that we can offer in the areas that we knew would be different than what we had ever done. You always, social emotional learning is important and has always been, and we've always supported students in that way through education and outside of it if needed. But this was different because there was trauma involved. And so we needed to support our teachers, staff, and parents in understanding how that might impact their children and each other and their community, their neighbors, their teachers, and what to expect and how we can offer support for that. And we did that in many ways, working with creating a city resiliency center and providing training where we brought in trauma and grief specialists and helped people understand what to expect and how they might respond, and certainly our educators and what to look for and how to support kids, and bringing in more counselors and counselors who are specifically trained in that. So the mental health piece was, I think, the biggest first. We've got to help people first, help kids, help staff, help parents, help all of those. And how can we help them do that? And we relied on experts for that. It's like that was certainly not an area that many educators have that much, counselors obviously, but other educators not equipped in that type of trauma and grief on a daily basis. How do you handle that with kids?
So you reached out to other people, other experts.
Absolutely, the experts who, and there are many agencies, state, hospital that have people who are trained in that, obviously, and they were a huge benefit in terms of helping us help them. But then also there's the level of putting in and enhancing the security. So that was a requirement. I mean, and the things that we had in place, and we have things in place. We had safety was a priority, was always a priority. However, when something tragic like that happens, we've got to do more. And so it was adding those layers of safety, and even in addition to that, adding policies and procedures that we, went extra measures to ensure that they were enforced in a very specific way, so that we were building trust in the students and in the faculty and in the community to want to come back to school. And so there are many layers to increasing that trust and that safety, and then blending that with supporting people and supporting kids and supporting the community and certainly the families of those who were impacted.
So you modeled to the families how to support the resiliency needed, showing up. Basically, this is what it takes to be there for our kids right now, for our community, for each other. And you said, we're all in. We're all in.
Absolutely. And that was the first focus is we're going to support each other. That's how we're going to start.
Yeah, that's great. That's beautiful. So we're going to shift to us now and the history of you and I working together. I still remember exactly where I was standing when I heard about your shooting, and I never knew that, we would have the opportunity to work together. I'm very blessed that we do have that opportunity. I still remember when you and I went to lunch and we talked about the kids just have the right to know they're safe. And that it's our shared dream that in 20 years from now, they can grow up knowing that they have that right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So in your mind, what do you think it's going to take as we build that out? What do you think that's going to take?
So first of all, absolutely, that's definitely was definitely a common for us, a common belief and appreciation is that not only the belief that you should be safe in everywhere you go, and certainly schools, but the expectation that it's something that you should not have to earn. It's something that's expected from everybody. Yeah. And everywhere, really. And so I think everybody you ask would say they believe safety is a priority. And I can assure you that anyone sending their children to school, that's number one. They want their children to come home. Certainly they want to be educated, but that's a given. So ensuring that the safety is there is really the key. It's not the belief that we want to be safe and the belief and or even the expectation, but it's also that coupled with the actions. So the culture, so what has to happen, the culture has to actually believe that and understand and expect that we've got to demand that that's a part of our society. We cannot accept that there's going to be another school shooting. So we just need to prepare really well for it. Or we don't have to, we can't just assume that there's going to be a shooting at a grocery store. And so you need to be prepared for that. Not that you don't need to be prepared, but I think that we can do better. I think that we can expect better and collectively make that happen. And
yeah. So you're hitting on it. You're hitting on it right there. The culture. So keep going. Tell me more. Tell me more.
So within the culture, then you develop the system for making that happen. So obviously the beliefs are there, but and there's the eBodyGuard piece is you create that innovative technology to transform that culture into, you can do this, because as we have the ability to empower ourselves with safety, with eBodyGuard, for example, you have that ability to do it yourself, you're going to create a safer community. And
right. And so what have you learned? What have you learned it takes to go from an idea into execution, into changing this culture and this system as you've been here? What's that urge of energy? What does that take?
Oh, it's a lot of energy, and it takes a lot of understanding and awareness and learning and appreciation for what's in place now. So there's got to be a need, right? So it's like, I need to know and appreciate that people are going to demand their safety and at least say, yes, I have a right for that. So what resources can we provide that might support that? So the needs there, and then it's a matter of the process and understanding how we can make that happen and how we can articulate that and how we can train. And so that awareness for people to be able to actually do it. So not just say, yeah, that's what I want, but yes, here's how I can do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's the way.
And you're seeing it. You're literally in it, seeing it, what it takes to do system change. Yeah.
Yes. And
so then
system change is something that as an educator always focus on, right? Because change is hard. We all know change is hard. And it's easier to go forward and deal with it and complain about it and do all of those things and hope for somebody else to do something than it is. And educators are not the best at advocating for legislation or seeking out some of those solutions. They're waiting for that to happen so that it can support them and support kids. So we can't, you can't assume that everybody is going to go make it happen. You've got to work through and help people understand that this is an important piece that we've all got to take a part in. We can't rely on our local leaders. We can't rely on, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean you can't put all your eggs in one basket. You got to spread it out and let people support each other. And
all people don't have to do all things, but
absolutely.
By everybody doing one thing, or by everybody doing what they're good at, then that goal actually happens. And what's super important, okay, is that if we all work together, many hands make light the load, and rising tides raise ships. And what I'm learning as an innovator, or what I've learned as an innovator, is that if Leigh Wall helps, and John Mackey helps, and George Brockler helps, and all these little, things get done by every person that's talented, then we actually will achieve eBodyGuard. And we actually will make the system change. And those kids will grow up knowing that they deserve their safety.
Absolutely.
That's why I keep doing the work.
But that's why I'm joining you in the work. But I'll also say that that's unique. That approach is unique, at least in my experiences, in involving those I'll say experts, but people who are committed to the work in those different categories, in the law enforcement area, in a school area, in first responder areas, and in the bringing those together to truly integrate it. So you truly do have that integrated knowledge based system for that system change, because the system change takes more than one piece.
Oh, because everyone matters. It's like
Absolutely.
a quilt, right? It's like the pieces would be missing if we don't have them. And then you'd be cold.
Exactly.
So what is keeping you safe wherever you are mean to you personally?
It fundamentally means accepting that you have that right to be safe, and that we owe it to ourselves and each other to take care of each other in that, and that we want to have, no matter where you come from, race, gender, background, where you live, it doesn't matter. You have that fundamental right to be safe wherever you are, and that we as a society need to support that, so that we provide those resources and awareness and understanding and belief and tools that allow that to truly happen, so that that isn't a dream somewhere. It is an expectation and a reality.
It's not somewhere over the rainbow. It's really not. It's not like this.
And the keeping you safe wherever you are, really, obviously my background in education and experiences that I've had, by the way, it isn't just, from shooting, many experiences from a superintendent in regards to life safety, hurricanes, gas leaks, all of those things that happen, that you worry about life safety, that fits into that. It's about saving lives. And that's number one, is life safety.
You know what I've learned truly is that if I don't do the little things, then the big things happen. And that's why as a CEO, I ask the teams to do the drills. That's why I say we got to show up for practice, team, because if we don't show up for practice, then we won't make the actual end goal happen. We won't get into the end zone. And if we don't get into the end zone, then we actually won't make the difference of keeping you safe wherever you are. I'm so diligent about it because I know.
And
you know why? You know why I know? Because as a musician, if we don't do our scales, we don't ever get to sing in the aria. We never got to show up for the opera. I was taught by the best.
Practice makes perfect. Or you've heard the don't sweat the small stuff, but it's all about the small stuff, right? So you have those, the details matter. The details matter.
They do. So what do you want parents to know about this concept, about smart, safe cities or smart, safe communities? What do you want parents to know?
That it needs to be a part of their everyday interactions in life. So if we, and I'll kind of go from empowering individuals with their own personal safety to community safety, starting with, if our communities are safe, then our individuals are going to be safe, and our schools are right in there with that, and our hospitals are right in there with that, and our shopping malls are right in there with that, and our parks, and all of the things that we engage in daily. And so in order to have a smart, safe city or community, the people have to feel safe, and they have to be safe, and there have to be those measures there that they can appreciate, understand, and actually do it, and effectively. So the smarter, safer our communities are, the smarter and safer our people are. So if we have the ability to have economically viable, sustainable economies and cities, our people are going to thrive. Our people can't thrive if they're not safe. So those are intertwined. The safer our communities are, the better our people will thrive and survive and flourish. It's an important piece.
It's an important piece that people people are just beginning to understand the concept of. I saw in the Harvard Business Review that safety needs to be part of the overall OKRs, like of every company. Like it's becoming something that Harvard's writing about. It's becoming like not an afterthought. Like it shouldn't be an afterthought of CEOs. It should be something that's at the top because it's impacting their wellness of their employees. It's impacting their economic output. It's impacting so many different areas. There's so many cyber issues now with insurance companies. There's all of these other secondary and tertiary issues, but it's not just secondary and tertiary, it's primary.
Primary.
Primary. And
Absolutely.
it's something that we all knew about, you and I have always known about, but it's becoming a number one conversation and area to invest in now with Wall Street. And so and private equity. So transitioning that, what has been exciting about your journey here at eBodyGuard, and conversely, what's been challenging?
Well, what you just described is exciting, is that you have the opportunity to truly impact some of that change, that transformational change that I was talking about. It's like transform the society from one that years ago in schools, safety wasn't, not that it wasn't a priority, but it was never, you didn't have police officers. You did fire drills. We didn't have active shooter drills. We didn't have intruder drills. And obviously when I finished my career, that's a part of everyday life. So in order to realize the changing world that you're in, the safety piece has to be a priority. So the excitement of that for me to be a part of that impact and influence of such a large type system society change is I'm looking at it from my past where we worked within the school piece that's part of the society, part of the community, but have a broader impact. That if you really look at the smart, safe city concept and the ability to transform communities, not just individuals, not schools, communities, you really do see that potential for primary instead of after something happens. You don't need to put safety in place after something happens. It needs to be in place for people all along. And you mentioned mental health, which for us did not get the attention it should have prior to, because I do believe that there's so much that can be done in supporting that with students, parents, et cetera, but then also in general in our communities and our businesses. So I think when we look at safety, it's a bigger picture than physical safety, for sure. It's broad and it's inclusive, and it's built in to what we do every day.
Yeah. So there's only going forward. You can't go back. So they always say hindsight is 20/20, right? So we can't go back and fix what happened, but we can take from our situations or the things that happened to us, and we can always learn. And so as you go forward, what is it that you're going to say, this is going to be what I do? This is going to be what I move forward, and I'm going to commit my life to. What are those things?
So you're so right. You always have to continue to look for, and there has to be a vision for that. So obviously when I was working and handled the many events and a school shooting, that whole concept of personal safety, family safety, community safety became a bit more important in regards to, we've got to support this. We've got to continue in schools. But then after retiring, I continue to support schools and school systems for sure. But then also the opportunity to expand it to where, if you also believe schools are mirrors and they're not separate and apart from societies, they exist within, then you also know that focusing on that broad community in terms of moving forward, learning from our experiences, helping others in our experiences, but then developing it further. Not just saying, yeah, I learned it, now I'm going to do this more and this more and this more. until something else happens. And unfortunately, I see a lot of that. Well, I saw it in our state where we had our school shooting. We did a lot of work in legislation. We put a lot of things in place, and then we didn't continue until something else happened, And so, I mean, I understand the dynamics of legislation and how it works and funding and all of that, but it should never go away. It should always be primary and focused in front. So that vision, that moving forward, that's what I hope to do for the rest of my life, is to support that in a broader way, not excluding, of course, my heart and passion, which is students and the ability to have a prosperous future. You want every kid, I want every child, my grandchildren, my children, to be able to do what they want to do with their life, to be educated to the point where they can do what they choose to do and continue their education, go into the workforce, use their wonderful skills, make society a better place and the world a better place. And so to blend what I think is important in the education of people too, to achieve that, is also the importance of the safety of that. I don't think those are separate. Whereas I may have thought that at one time, may have been education.
Yeah,
primary.
and I do see most, and today see most leaders say, this is my job, and the safety people handle this. And that's how they respond to eBodyGuard. Here's my current job, and here, you talk to safety, right? Versus amalgamating the two, that in order to have my job work well, part of my job is to make sure that first and foremost, I've taken care of the safety attributes of my job, which I think is a valuable maybe takeaway of this discussion. That safety comes from all of us. We make and help each other be safe. And that's what builds trust again. And that's what builds trust in our American world. And then that, right? Like you want to have trust in your banks. You want to have trust in our economy. You want to have trust, but you have to have safety in order to do that.
And don't you think that is really foundational, whether we articulate it or not? People do that. So transportation, I'm going to do it if I'm safe. School,
right.
I'm going to do it if I'm safe. College, I don't feel safe walking to the classes, so I'm not taking them. I mean, I think we inherently do it, but we've not attended to it as a population, a citizenry, a group of leaders, even to say that shouldn't be second on the list or third on the list in any organization. It should be aligned with first on the list.
And the statement that I'm going to say right out loud is so, it hits me, but it says, if you don't benefit the least of these, you won't benefit any of us. And sometimes it's those school shooters that you get a picture of after the fact. Oftentimes they've been abused themselves. We don't know their history, right? They're crying out for support. Who knows why they did what they did? I'm looking at a kid now who just committed suicide, and he was bullied, right? I'm looking at all the different scenarios in life of people that we need to be thoughtful of and have been ignored or have not had their voice heard. And I'm not trying to say that the person that walked into your school is that means that, oh, well, we didn't take care of him and therefore he had the right to do what he did. I didn't say that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that oftentimes, we go about our lives as corporate citizens, and we're so busy taking care of our job that we don't think about the vulnerable people in our communities.
Absolutely. And I think that's the important piece of when you ask keeping you safe wherever you are is ensuring that the vulnerable parts of our society are taken care of, so that we are, because you're right, you just get busy. You get busy doing your life, taking care of your kids, doing what you do. And that's not a part of many people's reality unless it's part of their job. But I think that's a part of how we look at when we talk about system change and culture change, and why this is hard, why this work is hard,
Why it's hard.
because it's trying to shift that belief, that thinking, that thought process, that expectation to, as a community, we've got to pull together, we've got to work together, and as individuals, we have to realize that it really does take us all, and that really is ours to create and build. And also believe that we owe it to each other as humans, as people who are by all accounts compassionate, caring individuals. I mean, that's our society, so that we need to take care of each other, and knowing that there's bad in the world. There's no question to that.
Mm-hmm.
But we do our best to prevent, to support, and to mitigate, to minimize any impacts of that emotionally, physically, financially, and all those things.
Yeah. Thank you for spending time with me today.
Thank
you for what you're doing here at eBodyGuard, and a personal thank you for the decision that you've made to commit time here to make this difference. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the work that you do, because your decision to move forward with this work is making a huge difference in the world as well. And it is ours to create. I believe that the future is ours to create. And your work is truly one to make a difference, save lives.
Thank you.
Thank you.